We're grateful for what we don't know about, the blessings of life that manifest themselves and bring us to not just our highest being, not just our greatest sense of being, but our most authentic state of being. We're thankful for not things that are going to happen, that have happened, that are happening, but what always is, which is our highest freedom, liberation, inspiration, expression, and realization of our greatest good, even when we can't see it. We're thankful that the miracles that manifest themselves in our lives are not limited to what we do or do not know, and that this exists in and out of time. Ashe and Amen. Bless you. Today we're standing here at UMCC.
Oh, is that where you are? That's a nice establishment.
Nice establishment, I will say that. I
I
might.
had okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great view.
All right. Blessed.
I had something come through. Actually, recorded on a voice memo. It was like basically about the purification of the self, the soul, or whatever you want to think about it, and how sometimes in that some stages of purification do require solitude, and that may feel like you're being we can put a lot of judgments on that from the mind, like whether that's right or wrong to be in solitude. Now, solitude is different from isolation. So this is what came through, is that certain phases of the purification of the self require solitude, and you can think of it similar to the processes of mixing paint, or there's other examples, but mixing paint or even cake batter, for example. When you're converting it from the ingredients to the product, you don't want just anything getting into that mix. You're intentional about what you put into the mix, and you don't want hairs in it. You don't mind, you don't dislike your dog, you don't dislike your cat, but you don't want them around when you're making that mixture, because if their hairs get in it, you have now made that mixture less pure. And so it's a similar thing with there's nothing wrong with hair, there's nothing wrong with dogs, there's nothing wrong with cats. There's nothing wrong with being in community and communion with other people, but there are times when that those external energies are gonna affect whatever's happening with your soul in a way that just isn't the best case scenario for you at that time.
You ever watch a baby? When you watch a baby, they don't need someone else to be playing for them to play and have a good time. A baby will sit there with just some water. It'll sit there, sometimes not even any toys. It'll sit there with some music. It'll sit there just by itself. It'll look around, and out of it, the world around it, it'll make a toy. It'll make it so they can enjoy himself. And a baby will enjoy themselves, herself, himself. A baby will enjoy themselves without the need for someone else to entertain them or for them to entertain someone else. Inside of themselves, a baby in a healthy way is a reminder of the authentic solitude that actually is healthy and necessary for anyone's evolution or well-being.
Well, a
Because
baby can't help it, but I do understand what you're saying.
the baby can't help it because the baby's not communicating like, on Instagram, but a baby is authentic in that they don't, even if they got siblings. I seen babies. I'm trying to remember when I was a baby. Now, I remember like babies literally, like I see my niece and nephew. They will sit by themselves and they just play. They don't need all these other things for. And it really, in your mind, you're really that same child. You're not somebody else. And then the day began to shine.
Okay, so you must be saying something real because the sun did
So
come.
the baby is really the babies that exist in the world, the babies that come forth from God. They don't come forth from the human, from the parents. They come from the source straight here. So if that's in that state, they're playing by themselves. They're chilling by themselves. They're not needing someone external to validate what they're doing. Why do we think that is? We exist in the same way. We have that same power within us. Sometimes we gotta lean into what we don't know. Meaning we don't know. Okay, I don't know. I was talking to my friend about this today. It's like, I don't know how to make, okay, how do I make $1 million in a month? I don't know. That doesn't, then now that I said I don't know, okay, now I know it's possible. I see someone else might do it. Okay, I don't know. The humility to say, I don't know doesn't mean you're stupid or you're immature or inadequate. I don't know actually means, hey, I want to figure this out. And because I don't know, now I know what I need to do. So one of the biggest I don't knows is giving an attempt to what we don't understand. And I think it's so important to not demonize ignorance itself. You know, willful ignorance and just wanting to like not know. Some people don't want to know because pain, because something like things like that. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I don't know everything. I don't know everything about everything. I love music. Even I don't know everything know about anything. Don't music in that way. I just love music, and I love to play, and I love the way it heals. So I learn because I love it. And I posted something earlier talking about this, and the idea was this: that if you love music, it's not that you don't work a day in your life, but it's that every work you do towards the contribution of your gift to be able to create music is the gift itself. And Alex Ramosi, you were showing me, he said the process is actually success is the process. It's not a result. And lifestyle is a better, closer to process, but it's really abundance, gratitude, money, energy, success. Some people live better,
Can I slow
but
you
they
down
say,
right there?
yeah,
I just gotta slow you down because you hit
yeah.
on maybe 5 subject matters that each have uh, enough to dive into alone. So I just want to give my mind time to process all that you're saying. And I want to go back to the baby example because it's an interesting point. I get what you're saying. Babies are equally, very much in their own world and equally entirely dependent on like other people to provide for their needs. But in terms of like a baby will get lost in their own world. I've seen it many times. Like a baby is just vibing, but then when that time comes for like an external connection, they let it be known, and they know they're like, all right, now I'm hungry. All right, now I want to see my mom. Like now I want this, now I want that. But for a time, a baby really will just be on their own vibe, kind of like staring up at the ceiling, giggling at stuff nobody can see. Very much connected to still the other side, especially a very young baby. So I thought it was an interesting point because I think it's like it's nuanced in that babies can vibe on their own, but and I think that's the point I was making is that it's a time period because we are social beings. You know, we do need healthy connection with each other. But there comes times where you have to prioritize the connection you have with yourself, and I feel like it does lead to a lot of things you're talking about in terms of orienting yourself towards whatever whatever successful life means or looks like to you. And once you have that orientation, it's kind of amazing how quickly things can unfold. Like information comes to you, like you said, like you align yourself with a certain intention, start taking actions in that direction, and then stuff that you didn't expect to learn, or people you didn't expect to meet, or things you didn't expect to happen, there's space for it to unfold.
Space is a good word because space is also space is it plays a part in learning something new, not knowing. The thing about a baby also is that a baby doesn't think it knows. A baby just is inquisitive and curious and is willing. It doesn't think it's wrong or right. It's just willing to learn. At the extent it'll ask questions and questions and questions and questions and questions to learn. And I think another thing about to connect the dots. Okay, I don't know something, right? That means I'm a baby to it. I don't know how to do it. I'm still new, you know. I haven't learned it, so I could if I take the same curiosity and just start acting, start doing stuff to figure out what it is, then I've taken the curiosity of a baby. And that's also what the teacher of Jesus said when he was like, if you want to come to the kingdom of heaven, you got to come like a child. You can't, you know, he said, you come to the kingdom of heaven, you have to come like one of these, meaning that your heart, another word for purity, I think in that context, means authenticity, that you're inquisitive about what you're experiencing. You're not assuming that I know what this is, and not even like it's an arrogance thing, but more like you just know you don't. So you're gonna ask questions that might not even seem normal. You're not afraid to ask a question. You're gonna, and sometimes the question is action as well. It's like if I do this, how could this? You know, but sometimes it's stillness, and I think there's a whole thing about making sure that you're connected to your actions. And I am actively realizing my potential. Not it's not by action, but through action. So action does yield itself, and then maybe the art is where it is by action, but through action we reach our principle of insight. The outside of action, it's just very difficult to find that not result, but that process. And action could be sometimes going to sleep and resting. That could be action.
Right.
Sometimes that can mean reading something and just taking some time yourself, or it can mean doing 1,000 calls a week and making sure you're doing that to build a certain uh, precedent. If I go in the forest and I plant 1,000 seeds, I don't get 1,000 trees the next day, but if I plant 1,000 seeds every day, I will have a forest.
It's interesting because it makes me think of, well, I've been thinking about this, reflecting on this lately, of kind of an essential teaching of James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, which is like one of the most, I don't know, it's just so clear in the message and so effective in what it is designed to do, in that it offers really helpful reframes for living a life that not necessarily is productive, but like can lead you closer to whatever success means to you. And something he says is that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall
Training,
to the,
like training.
no, you fall to the, I can't, hold
Sorry,
on.
I knew exactly what you're
That's not,
saying.
you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to, um, something like the effectiveness of your systems. That's a paraphrase.
Okay, yeah, that's bad. I apologize for. I just thought I was hitting it on the head. I remember the quote. I thought I remember the quote. That's all. I apologize.
You're good, but it just threw me off. But yeah, basically, we have these ideas about how we get from point A to point B, which often include just jumping straight to point B. But really, kind of like what you were saying in reference to what Alex Hormozy said, it's in the process. And so it's really about creating processes that, if you can successfully do the process, success will be a byproduct automatically. And so it's,
I,
sorry, the last thing I'll say is like, that's something I have to remind myself all the time, is like, if I'm here and it's like, damn, I'm not playing guitar at all right now. Like, I'm never playing all day, every day for like months I haven't played. I'm not gonna go from that to playing an hour a day realistically for me. But if I say I'll play 15 minutes and I make it more immediate, I'll play 15 minutes after work versus I'll start playing on Monday. Because when you delay it, it gives you time to continue to delay it. So just bite size, sorry, I'm
you're
wrapping up.
good. No, you're good.
Just creating basically the steps that are that are going to get you there is more like actually setting yourself up for success. Because when we make these goals, but we're taking these leaps, it often creates instability and inconsistent results.
What I like to say too is one thing that I think can. Okay, what I think a quantum shift. I'm a person that's for quantum shift. I love a big leap. I love incremental compounding, and I love big steps and compounding and validating what you've done by action. So one thing I love that James said in the book also is that identity is a key indicator, even more of what you're saying, of continuing to do a pattern. And the reason is, if I say to myself, and I remember reading it, he was like, if I say, they say, do you smoke? And someone says, I don't do that anymore. They're still identifying as a smoker. It's that they don't do it anymore. But if they say, no, that's not my lifestyle, I actually don't smoke. Even if they just stopped yesterday, this person that said that is closer than the person that's 2 years stopped smoking and says, I don't smoke anymore. And the reason is that identity has shifted to be a person who no longer associates with the habit because his identity is shifted. So quantum leap is a quantum identity shift. And guess what we do in this culture? We demonize an identity shift as crazy. And I'm not saying that that's the same conversation, but let's be clear. When someone changes their identity, their pattern very rapidly, it's seen as unstable emotionally, not to demonize what you said at all. It's seen as unstable, or they're making a choice outside of their mind. And you actually have to break the mind pattern and get out of your mind. If someone's saying in the life they have from that sanity does not yield a fruitful process that brings them the result they want, then they should lose that process and attain and choose another one. And if there is loss in that time, we got to stop demonizing what they call crazy. I think crazy is actually the antidote and I'm not talking about going episodes and stuff necessarily. I'm not demonizing that either. But the quantum jump more harmonizes with the madman or the joker or the person that's willing to lose it in exchange, changes the form for the reality so rapidly that he's seen as a fool. I think that that's another archetype that I love, but also it doesn't have to be that, because there are the archetypes of just realizing, hey, I don't like what I'm doing. Right now, I'm just going to stop. I'm no longer that person. You know what? I am someone that loves to be successful and to have the things that I desire and to be able to bridge those gaps and take care of myself and others and not ever lose any spiritual, result or process in that. I don't have to be in lack to be spiritual, okay? And then I make that choice and go into that reality. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. I'm thankful I get to speak a lot, and I have something to say. I know you do too, so okay, it's okay. But so that shift is different. And someone might say, even if someone goes into another faith and they went in one faith, they go into another faith. Oh, you're crazy. What are you thinking? Be willing to be crazy enough for long enough to change your life. As a DJ Cal like Joel Osteen shift, but really, you gotta be willing to be crazy enough, long enough to change your life.
Okay, I have thoughts about that, and here's the thing: when I said leaps, I don't mean quantum leaps. I mean, but this is not necessarily mutually exclusive with
It's two
my
different
point.
things, I think.
But it's not necessarily mutually exclusive because I think it all goes together. I don't think they're not contrasting ideas.
Right.
It's about, because there's one. It takes something else I thought about recently. It's one set of skills to acquire something. It's another set of skills to maintain something.
Correct.
So
now I'm learning.
So sometimes what my understanding has become is that those building blocks mean that when you do take a leap, 'cause I'm not opposed to leaps, but it means when you do take a leap, you have enough confidence. So, for example, if we make it literal, if someone says, I want to start jumping 100 feet, I don't know what people jump actually. I don't know what's real. Like in
So
Olympics, they're like, I want to jump 3 yards or whatever. You never jumped a day in your life. Now,
Right.
say you do jump those 3 yards, you're going to pull something in your body because you're not prepared for that. But if you say, I want to jump 3 yards and you're squatting, you're training your legs are
Correct.
getting stronger.
See, that's the action piece.
And you do that, you have a process of strengthening yourself in preparation for a leap. When that leap comes, not only will you execute it, but you will be okay after it happens, and you'll be able to continue to build from that point to the next point. And it's not about linear progress in life. I think life is more cyclical.
But the compounding effect of what you're saying
aside.
is powerful, and
So
that's where the two meet, I think. Yeah.
it's like, it's not about anti-quantum leap or anti-having faith. It's just understanding that the quantum leaps won't get you there alone, and just squatting every day won't get you there alone. It's when you put them together.
Yeah. So you're more of the spiritual side of life and reflecting on life and really changing. No, but let's say this. Let me say this. No, like literally though. I thought about this, and I was talking to my friend Friday about that. I said, one thing that's healthy for me, if I talk about writing a symphony, that's seen as manic, is seen as you're talking to budget. What are you doing? Like, you can't do that. Guess what actually eliminates any of that inner dialogue, inner hate of egoism and of fear? And guess what eliminates any of the outside or external validations or anything like that? If I build and write a symphony, and this is the example, Mozart was asked the same question. They said, a guy was in his 20s, he said, Mozart, I want to write symphonies. Mozart said, you're too young to write symphonies. And he said, but you did it when you were 8. He said, I didn't ask anybody. Just did it. When you do things, you validate the ambition that otherwise, and you validate the quantum leap only through quantum action. And that might mean if I can't do a push-up, I'm gonna do a push-up actually.
Oh, okay.
If I can't do one push-up and I get down and I'm just standing like this, the least thing I could do is just do this until I fail. And I remember I couldn't do a push-up. I'm not gonna flex, I'm gonna do a few. But now,
So you're definitely flexing. Okay.
No, but I'm saying there was a point where I would go down here and I want to get back up, but guess what? It wasn't gonna work. You gotta be willing. Even now, I'm shaking. Be back in the spirit of working out. But if you're willing to take the action, someone said you're not taking action, you're not doing push-up. Yes, he is. He's in place. He's going, even if he can't get up, I'm right here, and I just push, 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 push. I'm taking more action than the person that thinks about 1,000 push-ups. So the value in the quantum leap isn't, like you said, the quantum leap, but sustaining that level of increase, you have to have a quantum regulation. And they talk
Explain
about,
what that means. I don't never heard of quantum regulation.
you're the one who said it. You said it's not just a quantum leap, but you have to maintain the systems and processes that would validate that kind of leap.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, it's interesting because it makes me think of two things. One of them is from The Alchemist by Paulo. I don't know how to say his name, but The Alchemist. It's like a very popular book. Um, is it's interesting because it kind of hit on that some people actually keep their dreams distant from them intentionally because it keeps them going. It's something that it's like a mirage in the desert. Like they're going after it, but they don't actually want to achieve it. They want to keep it up here because there's some level of like fear there around what it would mean not only to follow that dream, but the way that your life would change as a result of following it actually, with the intent of actualizing it. So it makes me think about that. The reason is because when we set lofty goals without the practical mechanisms to achieve them, we're essentially doing the same thing. We're actually keeping our dreams at a distance
Correct.
versus actually like
That's
going
right.
towards them. Because
Thank you
going
for
towards
that.
them is going to be in the here and now. And so the more that we can make the actions immediate and not in like a frazzled, scattered way, but like for me, like a big thing I've put off is like sometimes writing and sometimes practicing guitar. So it's like in my head, it's like, well, let me make a plan for like next week to start incorporating. It's like, no, the real thing is to say, what can I do today, realistically, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, because it's better to start now and build than to build it up in your mind and delay it forever.
And that's another reason why take the action now. If you're able to do the action now, whether it's 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 5 hours, you're doing it today is always better. 5 minutes today is always better than 5 hours tomorrow. 5 seconds today is better than 5 minutes tomorrow. Because in 5 seconds now is better than 5 minutes tonight.
Well, within reason.
But I will say this: I really stand by that so far because if I think about it, I'm not doing nobody any good. But if I act it out and I act it out and I decide it and I decide it and I decide it and I take action, I do a post, I send a conversation, I make a call, I, I reach out, I schedule a tour, I build a beat, I make a track, I reach out, I comment, I like. Even the things that might seem like that took 2 double taps on my phone, that they might not have seen the notification. That's less than 5 seconds. They might not have reached out. They might not have had the opportunity. I might not have had the opportunity to meet this person that might have been a client monthly that ends up becoming a great asset. We end up building great relationship with each other and building great work. And they might have had referrals to send, 8 more people that they love the work so much that they got the service too. It's not just about business. Sometimes that's about friendship, marriages, relationships. There's things where people end up doing business practices with each other because of a split second where they held the door. They just decided I'm going to hold the door for this person. And in the small things, we don't realize how many no's we're away from a success. David Meltzer said, if you knew you were 27 no's away from $1 billion, how fast would you be to get to the next no? So part of the intention of now is I don't know what's going to happen, and I can accept that. So guess what I'm going to do? Take the action now. Even if I can only do 10
You know
seconds.
what's interesting? I sorry, cut you off.
Bless you. No, I'm good. I was kind of going off in spirit. We're blessed now.
Well, yeah, it's just so it's interesting because what came up in my mind about this is that you have to keep the vision, but you actually have to remove your attachment to the outcome.
Correct. And even sometimes to the vision itself.
And so, yeah, you have to be adaptable. And so, with what you brought up, it's like, you know, it's going to happen if it's aligned when you're ready. And so, actually, I think for people who are really desperate for an immediate yes, and you're not ready, the no's are helping you, because it's helping you. If you continue to go, then you'll know within yourself that it's not about the outcome, because you kept going regardless. And that can almost like purify your intentions behind something. Like it's not really about what other people are validating me or not, because if I was seeking validation, I would just go somewhere else because I'm not getting it here. And it kind of purifies the intention behind your actions of being like, I'm doing this because it's what's aligned, and I know when the time comes, I'm ready. Things will move in the way they're supposed to.
And also just within the experience, you know, they said that part of their copy, everything they write about their stuff is, we did 4,000 closed sales. There's probably lots of conversations that were before 4,000. He said, and Alex says it, and people say it, and I hear Gary Vaynerchuk talk about it. No one's inherently, you could be great and talented and stuff like that, and that's a blessing. But in order to get good at anything, you got to keep doing it. And Alex said, first you learn, then you earn. And honestly, the amount of value in this expression, I use the words, I'm a musician, so expression. The amount of soul you give, you're not looking to get that back, and you know that it's a recurring and infinite. You know that it'll always return to you because it doesn't belong to you. You're sharing in it, right? As far as the energy goes, when it comes to things like sales and things like that, you're not taking from that person like a one-sided thing where they send you something and then that's it. No, you're sharing in the value of they're getting that they're getting today, what would take them a month, and then they know that they'll be able to, with the value of what you created for them, and you know, or brought them or served them in, they have the equal and obviously more value in what you've given them than what you've received. So if you think of it like that, you're just in the constant, even when you're selling something, you're not selling it, you're in the constant state of gifting. You're giving them the service, you're giving them the production, and the result of what you're getting is from that gifting that you're gifted in, and it's a recurring gift. The reason I say it like that is because, and that's the part about the unconditional creation. When you create something from the heart, and you create a business, that you have that in mind, and that's the part where I think you really never work a day and say things like that. Because I'm very passionate about music. And there's been times where I've lost my way as far as the way I was viewing it, and I got lost in trying to understand. Okay, how do you? And I wasn't even successful in doing it. I'm more successful in my pursuit of how can I give the most value to every single person I come in contact with, to the point where they just want to give me money. Alex said at one point, it was so bad, but how can I sign up for this? How can I pay for this? He said they were literally like trying to hand the debit card and stuff like that right after he spoke.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is an important element here too, where it all ties together. Where I think of purity of spirit, purity of intentions is really essential in these kind of conversations, because if you ever look at Alex Hormozy's content, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with all his mentalities and everything. But one thing that I can see really clearly is that this is a person whose intentions and actions are aligned. He wants to help people. He really does. You can tell based off his content that's his intention, and he's doing things that validate that in terms of releasing free content, kind of having conversations publicly and making them available for free that people would usually have to pay who knows what amount of money to hear this kind of thing even be talked about. So he's sharing it. Actually, he's providing indisputable value, whether you agree with all of his personal philosophy or not. It doesn't matter. What he's doing is coming from a pure place of wanting to help and give a service, and it's paying. It's just automatically going to be returned, because of the attention he's coming with.
We're thankful for the grace of having the opportunity in rest and in action to embody our highest purpose. We're thankful that in silence, the blessings of life continue to hold us, shape us, and allow us to emerge, not just as who we want to be, not just as who we are, but beyond that, transcendent of thinking I need to do this, I need to do that, who our heart actually is. And thank you for this conversation with you, Bianca. We'll talk soon.
It's kind of a funny way to be like, that's enough of that. You're like, all right, so yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. I didn't have anything else to say, but
Would you like to close this out, actually?
No, it was just genuinely kind of funny. Like,
See you later, sister.
right, bro.